Should you live on campus as a graduate student or off campus? This is yet another issue that is deeply personal, and because it deals with finances, it's naturally sensitive, naturally controversial. There are some elements of this that, like many pieces of advice, I just have to defer to your best judgment. All I'm offering are some perspectives. The basic framework that I'm going to put out there, which I think most people I know would agree with, both graduate students and faculty, is that during the coursework phase of your PhD program, you want to be on campus or as close to campus as possible, especially when you have both coursework and a teaching assistantship if you do. Whereas when you are going in the post field work or post kind of dissertation research phase into the dissertation writing phase, that there is a bit more flexibility in your living conditions, but that proximity to campus and the campus community remains a vitally important part of your intellectual career, your development, and your time to completion. So let's talk a little bit about each of those phases. Well, coursework. Let's think about this. You're going to need regular access, most likely to your library, to a kind of somewhere to study, to your colleagues, to your classroom. When you're TAing, you're of course going to have to be there without exception in the lecture hall or in your section. Basically, every aspect of this really enjoins you, really commends the idea of living on campus in campus housing, or at least as close as possible as you can to campus during that. To do otherwise is in certain programs an option, but undoubtedly it would have an effect on your stress level, just compounding everything else that you need to do with a commute, but is also, perhaps even more importantly and to a greater detriment, going to have an effect on your ability to form part of an intellectual cohort, that is, who you enter your program with. And yes, you'll see them in your courses, you'll see them briefly, but the inability to actually connect with a group of people with whom you've entered this program comes at great cost and should not be taken lightly. Now, things change a little bit after the coursework phase, of course, because in many fields in the humanities and social sciences, you leave campus to do ethnographic work, to do field work, to do archival work, whatever it might be. And so there is a natural break between this more intensive campus-focused existence and then this period of time, which for many grad students is spent just away, often maybe in contact with a few other graduate students from your program, maybe graduate students from other programs, but kind of on your own. And then comes the re-entry back to campus life or to, the city or town of your graduate program, where you're not necessarily an integral part of the community anymore. You're not doing courses, you're not TAing anymore, but where you still want access to the library, your advisor, to other colleagues that are there on the ground. It's that phase, the sort of years 4, year 5, year 6, in which there is a degree of flexibility in one's housing. And this, of course, I don't want to discount the possibility that your partner gets a job and ask you whether or not it would be possible for you to dissertate in another city so that they can have employment, so that you can put food on the table. There are, of course, a lot of issues at play here. I'm operating under the assumption that you have the option of living closer to campus in your 4th or 5th or 6th year after, the fieldwork phase of many dissertation programs. And if you can, then there still is advantage to living in some kind of proximity. But I will say this, if you find yourself, either by necessity or by choice, living at some distance from your campus in the 4th or 5th year of your graduate program, that can be done. It has been done before, it will be done again. The only difference is that now when you are scheduling your time, when you are planning out your week, you're going to have to do something that someone living on campus doesn't have to do, which is that you are going to have to schedule presence. What do I mean by that? Well, for the person living on campus, stopping by the department, having casual conversations with colleagues or with faculty or with mentors happens organically. It happens on the way to the cafe or to the lunch place or to the library or wherever it might be around the department. That is not something that is going to happen for you organically, naturally, emergently, if you live off campus. And the question is there any value in those kinds of interactions, or can they be cut out of your program completely at zero disadvantage to you? My strong opinion is that no. Those informal, passing, ephemeral conversations are meaningful. They're intellectually meaningful. They are sociologically and strategically meaningful. They are, in a sense, important. They're core. They're valuable. And so my advice to you, of course, get lots of advice, but my advice is that if you were to choose to live at some distance from your institution in years 4 or 5 or 6, you're going to want to make concerted effort to place moments in your calendar that says, my goal for the hours of 10 to 11 is to simply be present on campus. I don't have a particular goal. I don't have a particular meeting or whatever. I am going to make space for the kinds of informality that happen emergently and naturally for colleagues who get to do this as part of their everyday life. Now, that might seem like a waste of time, but chances are you're going to be reading, you're going to be getting something done during that time. You're not just going to be sitting on a bench in front of your department hoping that someone comes up and chats with you. But the point is that if you live far away and all you do is come to campus for really tiny strategic reasons, a meeting, to pick up a book, to drop off something, then you are going to, in effect, disappear. You're going to disappear from the social and intellectual life of your department, of your mentors, of your colleagues, and the only person who stands at a disadvantage in such a scenario is you. And so basically, it's kind of one of these moments of it's totally within your power to make this decision, but just realize that if you're going to make this decision in a strategic way, you're going to want to compensate for that distance through other means. I'll see you in the next tutorial.